The film opens with a grainy news broadcast, the camera trembling slightly as a journalist stands before the gates of a world-famous luxury hotel known simply as The Resort. Her expression is tight, her voice uneasy, as she reports an alleged security breach. Helicopters circle overhead, casting fleeting shadows across the once glittering landmark. The Resort, marketed as the most daring vacation destination on Earth, was never meant to make headlines like this. To understand the crisis, the world looks back 10 years. A virus known as Chromo syndrome tore across nations with brutal speed, infecting nearly 2 billion people. But infection wasn't the true horror. Regeneration was. Victims died, then rose again. The world was thrown into chaos as the dead became predators, and the living fought tooth and nail to survive. Humanity waged a devastating war against its own former population. With no pharmaceutical giant willing to invest in a cure, the Brimstone Protocol was enacted. Bombs rained down on infected zones, burning entire cities to ash. Billions of dollars were spent not to save the infected, but to contain them. In the present day, zombie numbers have dwindled dramatically. The few that remain are imprisoned on an isolated island in the Pacific Ocean. This island would have remained a grim reminder of humanity's darkest chapter, if not for Valerie Wilton. Valerie Wilton, billionaire entrepreneur and acclaimed CEO, stepped in and rebranded the island as The Resort, a luxurious playground where tourists could hunt zombies as a recreational sport. It was marketed as therapy, closure for survivors of the war. Around the resort, Valerie also funded a refugee camp through her charity, Hope for You, claiming to fight the global refugee crisis. Her reputation soared. The world hailed her as a visionary philanthropist, but as the audience soon learns, nothing about Valerie Wilton is as noble as it appears. In the streets of London, we meet Melanie, a young woman still haunted by the traumatic death of her father during the zombie war. Shadows every step she takes. Flashbacks, nightmares, medications. Nothing helps. Her husband, Lewis, tries his best, but he cannot understand the depth of her pain. As a final attempt to heal, Melanie convinces him to travel with her to the resort. If she can confront the thing that destroyed her childhood, maybe she can reclaim her life. A few days later, they arrive at the resort's airbase alongside several other guests. Jack and Alfie, two teenage YouTube pranksters, Sadie, a heartbroken woman left by her fiancé on her wedding day, and Archer, a stern, middle-aged war veteran whose eyes carry the weight of many battles. While waiting in the lounge, Melanie briefly encounters a little girl clutching a doll. An eerie, silent moment abruptly cut off when the girl's mother pulls her away. Melanie feels a strange chill, but brushes it off. Soon after, the guests board a heavily armed speedboat that cuts through the blue ocean and delivers them to the island. Upon arrival, the resort appears breathtaking. Modern villas, neon lights, lush jungles, and trained staff everywhere. But beneath the beauty lies something unsettling. Before the guests are allowed on safari, they must practice firing weapons in the resort's shooting range. Melanie, surprisingly, needs no coaching. Her husband, Lewis, a trained British Army soldier, had already taught her the basics. That night, at dinner, Valerie Wilton greets the guests with a charismatic speech about healing, recovery, and confronting the traumas of the zombie war. To excite her audience, she even parades a female zombie on stage, restrained behind reinforced glass. Cameras flash. Guests gape in fascination. Melanie watches uneasily. Meanwhile, Sadie sneaks away. She scans her surroundings carefully before entering the resort's restricted control room. There, she hacks into the system and secretly downloads sensitive files onto a flash drive. When she exits, Archer spots her leaving the forbidden area, but says nothing. Minutes later, alarms trigger in the control room. Engineers discover an unauthorized breach. Terrified of Valerie's temper, they choose not to inform her and attempt to cover up the issue themselves. The next morning, the guests leave for their scheduled zombie hunting safari. At the automated security gates, the system glitches. Engineers fail to override it. Panic spreads among staff, but the safari trucks continue onward, unaware of the impending disaster. At the hunting zone, the group is positioned on a high platform overlooking a clearing filled with wandering zombies. The instructor encourages them to take their first shots. Alfie and Jack treat the moment like entertainment. Lewis nudges Melanie to try. She lifts the rifle and peers through the scope. A female zombie stares directly at her. Something in the creature's expression, emptiness, pain, or maybe recognition, causes Melanie to lower the gun. Soon after, the group heads to their camping site for the night. Melanie quietly confesses to Lewis that killing zombies feels wrong, like murdering something that once was human. Lewis, irritated but hiding it, tells her to try to enjoy the trip. Back at the resort, disaster unfolds. Engineers panic as another virus infiltrates the system. a rapidly replicating one that shuts down every security barrier. Containment fields collapse, automated gates unlock. Within minutes, every zombie previously restrained on the island is released. Within hours, the resort is overrun. Staff and guests are slaughtered as the undead flood the halls. Engineers in the control room become the first victims. Valerie, seeing zombies breach the command center, abandons her staff and flees to her private office. The Brimstone Protocol activates automatically. Bombing countdown begins. The safari campers remain unaware until a lone zombie stumbles into their quiet campsite. Melanie spots it first and screams for Sadie to shoot. Paralyzed by fear, Sadie freezes. Archer fires one clean shot and kills it instantly. Moments later, vehicle headlights reveal a swarm of zombies approaching through the darkness. Chaos erupts. Jack and Lewis fire wildly. Melanie and Sadie run for cover. A zombie nearly bites Melanie, but Sadie saves her in the final second. Alfie is not as lucky. Infected during the struggle, he is quickly put down by Lewis. With zombies overwhelming the area, everyone climbs onto the roof of the vehicle and braces themselves for a long, horrifying night. When morning arrives, the group learns about the Brimstone countdown from the Jeep's automated messages. They have only hours before the island is bombed. Their vehicle is dead, but Archer refuses to stay put. Movement means survival, he insists, leading the group on foot toward the communications tower, their only hope of rescue. During their journey, the group encounters wrecked safari vehicles, fences torn open, and survivors being devoured. The tour guide is bitten during an ambush, and Lewis reluctantly puts him down. Archer, sensing tension, confronts Sadie and demands the truth about what she did in the control room. With no escape, Sadie confesses everything. She is part of a zombie rights activist group called Living 2. She was sent to download proof of unethical practices to expose the resort, but her group betrayed her. They uploaded the viruses through her flash drive, deliberately triggering a system collapse. Sadie is devastated beyond words. The others feel nothing but fury. Soon after, they reach a terrifying abandoned compound littered with human remains. Forced to navigate tight corridors, the group splits accidentally. Archer, Lewis, and Melanie escape safely. Sadie and Jack do not. Sadie sacrifices herself when zombies attack Jack. Jack escapes but is later bitten inside the resort hallway and must be put down by Archer. The truth behind the refugee camp. The remaining trio ventures deeper and stumbles into a horrifying revelation. Valerie Wilton's refugee camp is actually a harvesting ground. Refugees are brought to the island under false promises, then turned into zombies to keep the resort stocked with fresh targets for tourists. The same little girl Melanie met earlier emerges, now transformed into a zombie. Refugee zombies swarm. Archer blocks a door, but Lewis, in fear, abandons them and escapes through the open roof. Archer sacrifices himself so Melanie can flee. Melanie runs for her life along blood-stained corridors. She sees Lewis again, now bitten. She hands him a gun, unable to kill him herself, and leaves him behind. Zombies close in, but Valerie suddenly drags Melanie into her office. She insists there's still an escape route, but Melanie accuses her of mass murder and exploitation. Valerie tries to seize Melanie's gun before zombies break in and tear the CEO apart. Melanie escapes and sprints outside as bombs begin falling. She leaps into the sea moments before the island is obliterated. 3 weeks later, Melanie reveals the truth to the world through the media. The scandal detonates globally. Survivors watch in shock, including Archer, alive somehow, sitting quietly in a bar. Melanie ends her statement with a chilling line. "When humans won the war against zombies, we lost our humanity." As the broadcast continues, zombies attack a nearby crowd and the new zombie war begins.